So there's this story of two shoe salesmen that go to Africa to sell shoes. The first salesman comes back to America and says there is no market for our product. Why? Because nobody wears shoes, so we can't grow the business. The second salesperson comes back with excitement and enthusiasm and says, oh my God, we're gonna build a business out there. There's market demand for our product because nobody wears shoes out there and everybody needs our shoes. So that's a simple story with a significant point. Ask yourself, which salesperson are you? The first or the second? Today we're going to be covering the 5 golden rules of sales, no matter what type of business you're in. Whether it's pharmaceutical, e-commerce, apparel, distribution, financial services, you're into social media, whether it's hospitality, the restaurant business, the tech business. I mean, you can sell Xerox printers. This applies to you. And let's get right into it with golden rule number 1. And that is take control. Well, how do you take control other than talking louder than the other person? Well, what we have to do is we have to kind of break down communication. You know, a professor of social sciences in UCLA many decades ago did a study and broke down different components of overall effective communication. And it was broken down into 3 categories: words, tonality, and body language. I want to ask you a question. How many % of overall communication do you think is the words that we speak? Oh, wait. If anybody said close to or 6%, you would have been right. I know at first sight, it's hard to take that information in. You're like, well, wait a minute. Less than 10% of communication are the words that are coming out of my mouth. I'm here to let you know, yes. Now, 34% is tonality. What's tonality? That's your intonation. Do you have an inflection in your tone? Are you more assertive? Are you high-pitched? Because the tone and the emphasis of the tone doesn't change the meaning, but it changes the delivery of the message that you're giving out. I'll give you an example. If we take a simple 3 words like I love you, okay? Gentlemen, you probably have heard this from ladies. They said very emphatically, they said, I love you. And if you just simply respond like, yeah, I'm busy, I'm in the car driving, I'll call you back, love you too. What's going to happen? You've heard this before. It's not what you said, but how you said it. That's your tonality. Let me take that simple phrase of I love you, and we're going to emphasize in every different word of the sentence. I love you. Let's start with the first one. I love you. I love you. I love you. Again, it's the same meaning, but it's changed the context of it based on your intonation. That doesn't just help you out with selling and presenting. I mean, you're talking about objection closing. You're talking about having tough conversations. Your tonality matters, and that's 1/3 of communication. So what's 6 plus 34? 40, which means, if math serves me correct, 60%, which represents the majority of effective communication, is nonverbal. They're not the words that you speak or how you say those words. It's not telling facts or selling a story. It's your body language portraying that to the prospect. I want to give you an example. You ever go to a restaurant and you're done eating and you want to get the attention of your waiter or waitress? They might be across the room and your eyes cross and lock in, and they're too far away to hear what you're saying, so you don't try. So you do a variety of hand motions, don't you? Basically, let them know that you're ready for that check. What are they? Check. check, check, a head nod, come over here. Any variation of a body language insinuates a message. So what you got to do is you got to realize the best way to be in control is through those things that I mentioned. Now you're like, Ali, I'm on Zoom. How do I incorporate body language? Stand up. Well, Ali, I'm on phones all day. I work at a call center. How do I incorporate body language? Stand up, put your headset on, and pace. And smile, by the way. There's different variations you can figure out to help you build that control when you're with a prospect. So that's golden rule number 1. Golden rule number 2 is establishing rapport. What does rapport mean? Rapport is a relationship that you build with someone. It's a connection. It's a common ground. It's an affinity. What you got to do is be able to build rapport, not just with friends and families, but strangers. That's what really building rapport in the business world is. That's how you take strangers and turn them into friends. Why is rapport important? Because business, not your business, or all businesses are about one thing and one thing only. Please write this down. PLP, which stands for people liking people. You'll notice I didn't say people liking products, people liking processes, people liking social media pages. What it says is people liking people. If they like you, if they trust you, they are going to do business with you. So you have to find a way to be relatable, be personable, build that connection. Here's an incredible way to do that right away. It's a technique known as mirroring. What's the root word of that word? Mirror. What's the definition of a mirror? To reflect something. So I'll give you an example. This here is a book, best-selling book, by the way, but a book. If I held a mirror in front of the book, see, the book is the book, but the mirror is the reflection of the book, but not actually the book. So what you got to do is build rapport by creating a reflection, whether it's audibly, physically, verbally, mentally, emotionally, with the other prospect. That can be done through a variety of ways. That can be done verbally, whether it's someone's tone of speech, speed of speech, are they more loose with their language or more put together? What are a few other ways that you can leverage building rapport verbally? Very diverse marketplace where people speak many languages. I've learned almost 12.5, not languages, but I've learned how to say the basics, like hello, how are you, goodbye, rhino, obviously. But what that does is that gives you the ability to build that rapport because you're showing there's effort on your end. It can be done physically. Whether it's someone sitting down, don't hover over them. If it's somebody that has a certain posture, match them. If somebody keeps doing this or keeps scratching their nose or adjusting their glasses or scratching their goatee or fixing their pants, you don't do it instantly because that's obvious. It's delayed. You sequence it in. And what happens now subconsciously, who do you remind the prospect of? Themselves, right? And do people like themselves? Well, we hope they do. So if people like themselves and you remind people of themselves, people liking people, you kind of get my drift. And that's how you're able to build rapport to be able to increase sales. Golden rule number 3, a third party. It matches the number, third party. I know that all of you entrepreneurs, all of you rhinopreneurs, pride yourself on being a leader, not a follower. But the overwhelming majority of people are not leaders, they are followers. They want to see other people have already done something. It's the Jones effect, keeping up with their peer group. People don't want to be first, but they would prefer to be last, not first. So you have to get the last, not first mentality of what other people have. They don't want to pull the bandwagon. They want to jump on after it's already been pulled. I'll give you a quick example. I grew up most of my life in Toronto, Canada. In downtown Toronto, very diverse, a lot of ethnicities. We had this one area called St. Clair, and it was a lot of old school Italians. And you come there at the beginning of summer, and one homeowner does a home improvement. They pave a driveway, they paint a garage, they retile the roof, new HVAC system, solar system. And then you come back a week later, and what you'll notice is a few more people on that street kept up with that one person. You come back a month later, dozens more. You come back at the end of the season, and a lot. Sometimes it feels like damn near everybody followed suit. So that's what they do. They don't take pursuit, they follow suit. So you have to get very good at making people feel comfortable with your business, with your service, with your product, what it is that you do. Third party brings an air of credibility, and you can never build too much credibility. Also, I call it glamour vocabulary. You want to incorporate words like qualify and eligible. Think about every big brand. Don't they use those terms already? Confirming eligibility, you may not qualify. You know what most people do when they hear they may not qualify? They want to qualify. Why? Because most people always want what they can't have. So you too can build what I call a spectacular vernacular and leveraging that third party. Because I'll tell you something about psychology and human beings. Whether it's a free lottery ticket at the gas station, whether it's 50 cents off a sub at Subway, whether it's some kind of add-on or upgrade, when you qualify or you're eligible for something, there's an emotional incentive to want to cooperate with somebody else. So you got to get that and leverage that in your business. You want to be an expert third-party incorporator in your business to be able to build your business. Golden rule number 4 is assume the sale. Why? Well, you can't ask for the sale. You can, but what happens when you ask a question? You get an answer. What are the 3 answers when you ask? Yes, no, maybe. Right? That represents 100% of the market. Yes, no, maybe, that's it. Very black and white. How many percent of clients, prospects, market, how much percent of the market would you think are no customers? Go a little bit higher. Higher? Even higher? 10%. You like that? It's 10% of the market. Most people have a false notion that represents the majority of the market. That's not true. A yes client, a yes prospect, conversely, is the complete opposite of a no prospect. They say yes to everything. That also represents 10%. So 10% plus 10%, we're at 20%, which leaves, if math serves me correct, 80%, which is the majority of the market. I want to give you a quick analogy to stick with you. Think of a Big Mac, top bun, bottom bun, the meat in between. The meat of the client base, 80% of the market is maybe. They're undecided. They're not yes, they're not no. See, a yes customer starts yes, ends yes. The no customer starts no, ends no. A maybe customer starts no, but if you do your job right, they can end with yes. So what you got to do is you have to get very good at assuming the sale, the assumption. When you go to your doctor, he assumed your prescription. When you go to the mechanic, he assumes your repairs. And you're in sales and you're asking for the remedy versus assuming based on what you know and the expert that you are in your business, you have to give them that certainty in assumption. I used to have this sign in my old office that said, assume nothing and don't think. And it might seem like it has a negative connotation. Assume nothing but the sale, of course. Why do we assume the sale like those doctors and mechanics and accountants? Why do we do that as entrepreneurs? It's the 80-20 rule, okay? 80% of the population doesn't like making decisions. Tony Robbins calls it the go with the flow mentality. I'll tell you something. You know who goes with the flow? Only dead fish, okay? Do not go with the flow. Make a conscious decision. But because people don't make decisions routinely, frequently, and consistently, they don't like making it. Whether it's the fear of failure, the fear of unknown, the fear of consequence, think about it this way. Most people don't make decisions. I'll give you a quick analogy. Going to the gym. If you don't go to the gym and you don't strengthen and condition your muscles, what happens? Your muscles become flabby and weak. So you get weak decision-making muscles because you don't do it often enough. That's where you come in as the expert. 80% doesn't like making decisions. 80% will walk inside of a 7-Eleven or a convenience store and stand in front of the snack bar with a deer in headlights look because they can't decide between a Kit Kat or a Skittles. That same 80% will walk inside of a McDonald's or a fast food franchise and have a deer in headlights look. Why? Because they can't decide between the Big Mac or the Filet-O-Fish. That same 80%, I know all of you are guilty of it, so am I, maybe ladies more than the men, stand in front of a closet full of clothes every single morning and can't decide what to wear. Isn't that funny? Usually I go back to the first outfit before I got 19 other outfits afterwards. What does that mean? What does that imply? What does that impute to you? That means that people don't like making decisions. So our job, our responsibility is to be an expert in our field, have the utmost belief in what we do, be advocates that people are better off by owning or using our product or service versus not. And more importantly, we have to be assumptive. We have to assume the sale to be able to get them closer to that end zone of them making a decision where there's mutual benefit for them, for you, for your company, for the marketplace. You have to assume the sale. You know, the last point on this golden rule, number 4, is you have to have the ability to lead clients to a predetermined point. Like Tom Hopkins says, you have 2 ways to do that. You can push them or pull them. Pushing them means telling them, forcing them. And most people don't like that kind of strategy. Pulling them is leading them. How do you lead people? You ask questions. You ask qualifying questions. You ask simple questions, this or that. Hey, we're setting our follow-up, John and Mary. What day works better for you? This or that. Hey, I've got a couple of options for you. What do you think would work best for you and your family? This or that. Don't have the menu like Cheesecake Factory, which overwhelms people. Have the menu like In-N-Out. So simple. Cheeseburger or hamburger. This or that. And you have to have the ability to lead people to a predetermined point by asking those qualifying questions. And golden rule number 5, save the best for last, ABC. I feel like Glenn Glary, Glenn Ross, always be closing. What does that mean though? Let's break that down. I know we assume the sale, but we ask for the order. You can't assume the order. because that would mean that you've signed on behalf of a client. You can assume the sale and everything in between. You ask for the order. Why is that in there, and why does that seem so simple? Most people, sometimes things are so obvious that they become hidden in plain sight. You do this long presentation, you show everybody the bells and whistles of what you do, and sometimes we forget to tell them what to do for that next step. Set up an appointment, sign the paperwork, give us data, ask questions about what needs to happen. A lot of times, if we don't tell them, they're not going to clue into the next step. As you're asking for the order, that's where you need to incorporate glamour vocabulary. I'll give you an example. 2 words, signature and contract. Almost every business, no matter what vertical, requires a contract that requires a signature. We all get that. But let me ask you, when you hear those words, signature, contract, contract, signature, signature, contract, contract, signature, signature, contract, what immediately comes to mind? Negativity, right? Well, I'm in a contract that is binding. I'm signing, and I learned growing up, don't sign until you read the fine print. And to get out of a contract that's binding, that has penalties, you have to hire a lawyer, which costs money, which is a big headache. Do you see how there's so much negativity associated around that? Find your glamour words. Is it the order? Is it the application? Instead of signature, is it endorsement? Is it John Hancock? Is it autograph? Is it okay? Funny story. In one of my previous businesses for a very large distribution chain, I went to the controller. I said, sir, if you'll just okay for me right below that line, we'll be all set. And I didn't realize anything until I went back to the office and I pulled out my contract, and instead of a signature, he literally wrote, okay. So it doesn't happen all the time, but find the words that work for you. Other things that you can incorporate, which coincides with the theme of psychology. That's what sales is. It's an art of persuasion, psychology, and interacting with someone and leading them to a predetermined point. I've been in business for over 20 years. I've helped lifetime with all of my businesses over 500,000 families. Not individually, but collectively. The thousands and tens of thousands of families I've personally helped, not one time have I gotten to the end zone, gotten to the end of my process, and I haven't done this, which is called the 5 yes close. That's confirming 5 pieces of information with the client that you already know to be true, that they're going to respond by saying yes, because it's a bunch of small yeses lead up to the big yes. I'll give you an example. Is that your first name? Allie? Is that your last name? Rhino? Is that your address? Is that your city and zip? And is that your phone number? And a lot of times clients, they're like, yeah. They're falling into the routine of saying yes. And what's the final question? I just need your autograph right here. Those small yeses lead up to that big yes that allows you to get higher closing percentages. So let's backtrack for a moment before we end. We went over these 5 golden rules. If you're motivated, fine, be motivated. But there better be action, massive, and more importantly, immediate action after you watch this. If you learned one thing, what is that one thing? When are you applying it? If it's not in your calendar, it doesn't count. And more importantly, you can't do it once in a while. Like Vince Lombardi said, winning is not a once in a while thing. It's not a sometimes thing. It's not, I feel like it today, so I'll do it. It's an all the time thing. These skill sets that you're looking to possess and improve and acquire and teach and transfer to other people and yourself. These skills, if you want to become a master of these skill sets, you want to get mastery of these skills, and you want to get these skills that pay the bills, find out what you learn and apply that immediately. You guys already know. I'll see you next time. Subscribe to that channel. I'll see you Rhinopreneurs next time. Take care.